So what makes Taiwan a good place for comedy? Well, Taiwan Insider's Staś Butler went to a comedy club to find out.
Taiwan is a funny place full of funny people. But what makes it a special place to do comedy? To find out more, I decided to head to 2-3 Comedy in Taipei.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah. Here to the comedy? Yeah.
It's the center of a new boom in stand-up comedy. I asked people what brought them here.
Brian.
Brian.
A lot of them said it's down to Brian Tseng. He was the star of an incredibly popular American-style comedy show that began on YouTube in 2018. And it was him that set up 2-3 Comedy in the first place. But I wanted the answer to a bigger question. What makes comedy in Taiwan different from anywhere else?
Not everyone.
And I think you just get a good mix of people coming here through too. Like some of the funniest Taiwanese comedians I've seen were performing in the English side.
It's quite international, more so than maybe I expected when I first came here. I've only been here a couple of years.
我觉得会来看这些活动的应该都是可以，就是接受这些没有尺度的笑话。
I came away from 2-3 with the impression that the diversity of audiences and performers might hold the key to understanding comedy in Taiwan. And to learn more about both culture and comedy, I knew just where to go. The following morning brought me to the Kishuan Forest of Literature, an old Japanese restaurant, to an event by Taiwan Next Gen Foundation on art and multilingualism. It was a fascinating experience, and the highlight for me was a performance by Formosa Improv Group, or FIG. They've been performing improv comedy in multiple languages for almost 3 years now. The climax of the show included segments in 4 languages: Mandarin, English, Taiwanese, and French. I spoke to 2 of the group's performers, Diana and William, about what they've learned performing in different languages.
I think now it's becoming more inclusive. I see more Taiwanese people getting involved in what is improv and what is stand-up comedy, whereas maybe before it was more foreigner heavy because that was part of their culture.
I feel like Taiwan brings kind of all sorts of different people and Taiwanese people and kind of pushes them together.
Well, personally, for me, performing in both languages is quite challenging. Confusion.
You were very confused recently.
I see a lot of signs everywhere.
会看到很多 signs.
My first language is Spanish, native language, so Chinese and English are not my first language, but I'm trying to learn. It's definitely challenging, not only because of the language, but because of the culture. Some terms don't translate to either culture, so trying to make it as inclusive and as diversified as possible is always really fun for the audience.
Spirits, what is her professional future? 哦，你未来会买一个背包。
In the previous groups that I've been in, we've been extremely mortified for the non-Taiwanese members like to perform in Chinese. We'd be like, oh my goodness. But we found that performing in both languages, and especially in Chinese, the audience is very, very, very forgiving and has a great time when we use Chinese.
Hello. 你很久没有来找我了。
And so there is a Taiwanese sense of humor, but it's evolving faster than ever now in its own direction, which is really fun.
I think because Taiwan is so welcoming to all kinds of different arts, and also it's quite diversified. Anybody speaking any language, we can all communicate with each other. Like improv, it doesn't necessarily take a high level of language proficiency, but also using your body and the concept of yes and. So I think Taiwan overall is very, very welcoming.
For me, here is where it all started to make sense. Sitting in a Japanese colonial-era building with an audience from all over the world, laughing at comedy in languages I don't even speak. If anything makes Taiwan's comedy special, it has to be that unique mix of cultures and people. And what's even more exciting? For Taiwan's comedy scene, I know this is just the beginning.
You know, I think Staś has a great point there. Whenever different cultures come together, I mean, there are endless opportunities
That's
for comedy.
true. It gives you new perspectives on life, right?
Yes, and I've certainly done some very silly things trying to learn Chinese.
I can imagine.